the overall lineup of college football games this coming weekend, it is awful. I mean, I asked you about that LSU Ole Miss game, but I mean, there isn't even a single matchup of two top 25 teams. And if I had to rank some of these games, I mean, I guess maybe I would look at Clemson Pitt. I'm a little bit intrigued to see what's going to happen there. Pitt, 3-point favorite against Clemson. Oregon, UCLA, maybe to see whether or not UCLA and Chip Kelly can get a big win there and what might end up being a rematch game. Oklahoma State, Iowa State. I mean, we're going pretty far down the overall proverbial barrel to be trying to talk about some of these games. What are you excited about? What stands out to you for the college football slate?
I mean, you highlighted a couple of the key ones. I think this is the biggest game that Chip Kelly will have as head coach at UCLA, with so much on the line against a program where we know there's no love lost against Oregon. We've already seen some line movement here. Some shops actually open Oregon a short favorite, UCLA now a favorite. By virtue of Utah knocking off Arizona State, suddenly the Pac-12 South gets a lot more intriguing. I'm stunned that that game will get lost in the shuffle in the middle of the day. I mean, you talked about the Iowa State-Oklahoma State game. I mean, Oklahoma State has to be counting their lucky stars. They were on the cusp of going down 24-3 before a pick six completely flips that game around in typical Texas fashion. They can't win a big game to prove that, hey, look, that Oklahoma loss wasn't going to linger. So that was a little bit disappointing if you follow UT. And honestly, the two games that I'm intrigued about, most of your audience and most of the country won't care a whole heck of a lot about, are two games in the Mountain West. I mean, you have an Air Force team that's suddenly the team to beat, taking on San Diego State, who put forth one of the most coma-inducing football games I've ever watched in my entire life, Friday night against San Jose State. And also two underrated quarterbacks, although one of them is getting a ton of buzz about being a first-round NFL draft pick, in Nevada against Fresno State. That'll go a long way in the Mountain West race. But if you're talking about national intrigue, there isn't a whole heck of a lot. I mean, USC, Notre Dame, when the Trojans go limping into South Bend at 3-3, isn't going to have people glued to their edge of their seat by any stretch of the imagination.
Anything else you just mentioned college football. I mean, again, I love college football more than almost anybody I know. And, I mean, that is a rough slate of games on the 23rd. What about in the NFL? Broncos-Browns coming up on a Thursday night. Anything attractive about that? I know the Baker Mayfield left shoulder injury is a big part of that story. The Broncos, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they won their first three and now they've lost three in a row. Chiefs and Titans is going to be a good one, but until you see what the Titans look like coming out of this game, it's hard to project there. Any early numbers that are jumping out with you?
You know, when you look at the way the NFL slate stacks up, I don't think there are a ton of games that offer a lot of intrigue, at least on the surface. Sunday Night Football between the Colts and 49ers. I expect Jimmy Garoppolo to get upgraded, so I think there could be a few more points than what the betting market suggests there. I mean, you talked about the Thursday night game, two teams that I think a lot of people, myself included, believe could be coming into this spot at 4-2 or maybe even better. Suddenly, the loser of this game now has a losing record, and the Cleveland Browns have lost key contributors both on the offensive and defensive side at a rapid rate. You know, now you lose one of your top draft picks in Okura. You're talking about Kareem Hunt going on IR. So this game is an absolute mess. Denver was terrible this weekend against the Raiders. And I think so many of these teams are trying to figure out what their identity is going to look like. But I also don't remember a Sunday where you have games in the late afternoon with so many double-digit spreads. I mean, this is the time of year where you see the separation of the haves and have-nots. So if it wasn't for the betting line, which we know becomes the great equalizer, not a lot of games where the casual fan goes, hey, look, this is must-see TV, and I have to tune in to what's going to unfold over the course of, 12 hours of NFL viewership on Sunday.